Hey guys, Craig McCormick here from DestructivePixels.com, and today you've got some questions and I hopefully have some answers. Alrighty, so as I said, today is some Q&A, so let's jump straight in. I asked you guys on Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter and even on my email, send me questions so I can do it because it's been a long time since I've done a Q&A here. And I do have like 4 or 5 decent questions. I got a couple of the same question from different places or similar enough, the same questions for a couple of them. So some of them are doubled over, but I do have about 3 or 4 questions here. There's some nice good ones. And the first one, let's jump into this one from Tom Booth Woodger. I think that's how you say your last name. Please excuse the laptop. It's because the questions are all over the place from different networks and stuff, and I need to know where they are and what they actually say. And Tom's question is, how did your passion for photography begin? I feel like I've talked about this before, actually. Through like GCSEs and A-levels, and that's the school, the UK school system. I don't really know what it's like in the US. It's kind of like seniors or high school and stuff like that. I think that's how it is. I used to just do art subjects all the time. I did tons and tons of different art. I did like acrylic painting and graffiti work and Photoshop, and I did some photography stuff. So I did a lot of graphic design and product design as well, where we actually kind of designed products and like made stuff, and it was quite cool, and I wasn't very good at it, but I enjoyed it. So again, it was kind of like I used to do a lot of different art-based stuff for a long time, and then I went to art college. I say college in quotes because it wasn't really like an American college. It was like a diploma thing for like a year, excuse me, and you did a whole bunch of different subjects, and then I ended up focusing on Photoshop, and then specializing within photography related to Photoshop, because you could do Photoshop and design work, and I ended up leaning towards the photography thing. And the truth about that is I ended up doing the photography stuff because from college, I wasn't going onto university. I wasn't going to further schooling. I already knew I was going to be coming to Shanghai after I finished college. So I didn't need to do all my schoolwork. I didn't need to do a wide spectrum of work in order to show like I'm capable of doing multiple things to schools, which allowed me to just focus on whatever the hell I wanted to do. So I focused on photography because I just got to shoot all my friends skating. Like there was a skate park about 5-10 minutes away from my college at the time, and I had a couple of skate buddies in my class at the same time. We all took the same subjects, so we all just used to go skate all the time. We used to go to college, have breakfast, show up for class, and then just go to the skate park, and I would take pictures of them, and then I would use those pictures in various projects. So that's kind of where the photography stuff got to at college. And then I shot casually for a couple of years. I had my camera here, I had my old 40D and my Sigma 18-200. I used to take that on trips and stuff like that, but I wasn't really that passionate about photography all that much. And I've probably talked about this before. I had a breakup a couple of years ago. It was probably about 4 years ago at this point, or something like that. It was a long time ago. And I was feeling a bit down, so I wanted to concentrate on something I enjoy, you know, to kind of refocus my bad energy that I kind of had. It's a really crap way of saying it, but I just ended up picking up the camera. Well, I picked up canvases and I started painting again, but photography then was the thing that stuck. So that's kind of how I just ended up focusing on photography. It was just a fluke in a way, I guess. I used to do a lot of different types of art, and I still enjoy lots of different types of art. Like I love graffiti. I think that's a really undervalued art. I think that's such a cool aspect to something. Acrylic painting, I used to do that. I was crap. I was really bad. Don't want anything I've ever done. I occasionally, one friend of mine would like ask me to paint stuff, and I would just give it to him and just here, paint, here, go. I don't ever want it. Don't ever ask me to look at it again. So yeah, photography, that's kind of like the backstory and how it worked. It was just an accident. I just ended up taking pictures of my friend skateboarding. And no, you're not gonna see any of that. Actually, no, you know what? I'll throw up a couple of pictures here on screen of pictures that I shot while I was in college. There's 2 pictures I know specifically that I really like. One of them is my friend doing a wall ride on a little vert wall thing. That was at the skate park near my college. And the other one was one of my good friends, Phil, who I haven't seen in a long time. And he used to do a lot of street plant stuff and kind of freestyle things. And I got a picture of him doing a street plant in our local skate park. So that's the 2 pictures that I shot during my college time that I really liked. Those are the two things that I quite enjoyed. But apart from that, my college work was really crap because, as I said, it was just an excuse to go and skate. So next question here is a big one, and I've had this a couple of times in multiple places, including in my email. And this is from Nick Moen, and he says, what are some things to keep in mind when you're making a portfolio? That's question number 1. Number 2, any tips or ideas to make them stand out from the rest? And 3, and do you have suggestions for what sites to use? I assume you mean websites to put up your portfolio. Well, I'll answer question 1 first. What are the types of things to keep in mind when making a portfolio? To start. So many people go around the whole subject of, I don't know what to put in a portfolio, I'm not ready to start a portfolio or a portfolio website or anything like that, so they don't do it, they put it off for ages. Just start it. Put something together, pick half a dozen of your best images or what you think are your best images and put them in your portfolio. Next time you go out and shoot, if you find something you really like in that shoot, look at that image and then look at the 6 that are in your portfolio and say, which image is worse than the image I just shot? Or another way to think of it is, which picture that I just shot is better than any of these? It will be your weakest one, and you'll know it in your heart, the weakest one that's in that 6. So you take that one out and you put it in with that one. You put the new one in. So it just starts from there. You just have to start. That's my honest advice, is just to start a portfolio. Otherwise, you will dance around the subject of not doing a portfolio for ages. I've done it myself. I'm completely guilty of it. And the beauty is, your portfolio is not set in stone. You can change it out constantly. I'm tweaking my portfolio constantly in my own head. I don't change it on my website all that much, but I do constantly think, well, I might change this, I can do that. And there are constant things that you can be doing to alter your portfolio. It's never set in stone. It's never a one trick thing. You don't need to just set in one portfolio and be done with it. So my honest advice is just to start your portfolio. Any tips or ideas to make them stand out from the rest? That's going to be very hard to do if you don't have a portfolio to begin with, and it's going to be very hard for the first few years to make your work stand out from the rest. My work doesn't stand out from the rest of the people because I'm only just starting to scratch the surface on what my style is for landscape photography. I do a lot of water stuff, it's a lot of coastal stuff. Generally, I've noticed a pattern with my work because I do review my portfolio and my work quite a bit. I always have something on the right leading in to the left. For like a foreground element is always generally on the right. If you look, there's a lot of my images have something on the right in the foreground to then lead into a larger image. And I don't know, that's just a pattern that I've noticed in my work, but whether or not that's something I can use in the future, I don't know. But any ideas on how to stand out from the rest is going to be difficult at the beginning, I'll be honest. That's going to be hard to do, to stand out from the rest, unless you do just something really unique. Any ideas on how you can do it? Focus in on one very specific subject. So like go down like within a subject. So say you don't just shoot portraits of people, shoot portraits of people on black, and only use like blue and orange gel lights or something like that. Be really specific on your type of work to make you stand out. It's talking about, you know, it's kind of like developing your individuality. You're basically asking me any tips for becoming an individual. Well, that's really up to you. But one way that you can do it is think of something that you can really narrow down and be very focused on, that you enjoy, that you like the idea of. I have my own personal ideas in my head for portrait shoots and portrait series. I'm not going to share it with anybody because it's very personal to me and it's inside my head, but it's something I do want to do, especially in this year, or at least start in this year. So developing a style is really important for your portfolio. And for number 3, any suggestions for websites? If you've never done websites before, go to guys like Squarespace. Personally, I use WordPress. I have a couple of people ask me quite often what website I use and what I use. So it's a WordPress website, and I use a theme from ThemeForest. Is it ThemeForest? Yeah, it's ThemeForest, yeah, the website, and it's a website where people can make and sell their themes for their websites. I have a theme from there, and it cost me like $50 US. I've tweaked it a little bit, but not all that much. But if you're not comfortable with doing websites and things like that, just go to Squarespace. They just released their new version of Squarespace. I think it's Squarespace 7 or something. Jump onto that. It's really cheap. lots and lots of photographers have got discount codes for it. I'm not going to say anybody's discount codes because you can go find them yourselves. But Squarespace is cheap and it's really easy to use and it helps you get started very quickly. So just jump on Squarespace in my personal opinion. There are other options available. Of course, I am not distinctly pushing you towards Squarespace. I just think that they seem to have a really good baseline for photographers. So that's the 3 questions from Nick. So let's jump over to another one here. I've got from Google Plus, Daniel Ryder, R-I-E-D-E-R, Ryder. I don't know. Hopefully that's pronounced right. I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. This is a really good question. It got me thinking a lot. Imagine you have a month off for a travel landscape shooting vacation. Where would you most like to go and what specific things would you like to shoot? Oh boy, that's like basically asking any musician if you wanted to play music with anybody, who would you play with? It's a big question. If I had a month to do landscape stuff, where would I go? I don't think I would stay to one location. I think I would probably split it up into 2 weeks. I would do 2 locations. If I had 4 weeks, so a month is like 4 weeks, I'd say I would do 2 weeks in one location and 2 weeks in another. Where would they be? I know one of them would be Iceland. I would definitely like to go 2 weeks in Iceland and just drive around Iceland and just stop left, right, and center because there's just beautiful pictures everywhere as far as I can tell in Iceland. That would be definitely on the list. I might actually be going this year, I'm not sure. My dad is kind of talking about going because he likes the whole scenery aspect of it and he wants to drive around there. So I might be going there this year, but I'm not holding my hopes up for that. I might just have to do that trip myself sometime. And the second place I would go to, and for specific places in Iceland, I'm not gonna butcher the names. I know of places that just look spectacular. And I know like, oh, that's that place, but I'm not gonna butcher the names. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. And they're in Icelandic, clearly, obviously. So I'm not gonna butcher those names. But the second place is hard. If you had asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have probably said Australia, because that's just been on my list for a while to go to Australia. I've talked about that in previous videos actually, probably even previous Q&As, that I'd like to go to Australia because it just seems like such a diverse landscape idea. There's so many things you can shoot, and again, it's coastal and the weather is jolly nice, I would have to say. So that's no bad thing. I'm not impartial to that, that's for sure. But recently, I've watched for a long time, one of my favorite vloggers on YouTube, just to jump over to YouTube for a second. It's a guy called Corey Williams, also known as Dude Like Hella. You may have seen he had a video that went viral a couple of months ago where he took a stone and he chipped it along like an ice lake in Alaska, and it made this crazy, crazy noise because the water vibrated underneath the ice and it made this crazy noise and it went viral. Don't know if you've seen that or not. I'll put a link to it down below. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like a weird thing for me, but like I was well under like the 500 mark for the view when I was watching that, because I've been subscribed to him for like a good 2 years now. So I was one of the early watchers of that, and then to see it explode made me kind of proud, because I remember watching it as soon as it came out. I was like view 350 or 400 or something like that. I was quite low, and then to see it go into like millions of views was quite cool. But he does a lot of stuff around Alaska, obviously. He's in like the Anchorage area, and his videos just everywhere. Every single angle is just beautiful landscapes, because they don't have a huge amount of snow right now. They just have like a flutter of snow right now. So everything just looks really nice and crisp and snowy, and it looks so, God, it looks so beautiful. So that's kind of like the two places. The only reason I'm slightly leaning towards Australia is because Iceland will probably be cold. It's generally kind of cold all the time there, and I don't want to then go to Alaska where it's also cold. So Australia would be kind of a nice juxtaposition. But yeah, so those are actually my 3 places that I really would like to kind of go, and then in the future, in terms of landscape stuff, would be Iceland, Australia, just the whole of Australia. I know I should probably narrow that down considering how massive Australia is, but I haven't looked into it too much. It'd probably be East Australia, however you want to call it, and then Alaska, more specifically like the whole Anchorage, that kind of the last port of civilization in Alaska before you just go into nothingness. But that area, it looks really, really stunning. There's like a 5-hour radius around Anchorage that just looks like absolutely stunning. It's mountains, it's lakes everywhere, it's crystal clear water. The water there is amazingly clear. So that's definitely the 3 places that I would go on my vacation if I had a month off to shoot. I mean, that's exciting me just thinking about, oh, I could do a month off and do all these shoots. That'd be amazing. But unfortunately, alas, I have a real job and I can't really afford to do that for a month off away from civilization. So other questions here, let me just pull up my email very quick because I did see a couple of emails, and we'll end it very soon because we're already at like 15 minutes. So I have David, let me, how you got started? Nope, actually, okay, so that's one of the questions there. It was asking again, how did you get started on photography? I've already talked about that. I have a feeling I've actually talked about that multiple times here. And this one is, this is a very long email from David Leonard. I have a feeling this is actually from quite a while ago. It was, so I'm very sorry, David. Let's have a look here. And it's, basically he's talking here about how do you choose what goes in your portfolio? How do you decide not just when you start, because I've already talked about that, but you have a portfolio built up, and where do you go from there? How do you choose what goes in there? And it's kind of like the next step after you've kind of created a portfolio, you started it, and you're kind of culling it. And that is a really hard one to answer. Apart from, I know from me personally, I set a very high barrier for my quality of work, and it has to be an image that interests me. There's a couple of quotes here that I always kind of keep in the back of my head. And one of them is from Jay Maisel, a really great street photographer. And he says, "You're only as good as your worst image in your portfolio." Actually, I don't think that's a direct quote. No, that's Joe McNally. Joe McNally is, "You're only as good as your last photo." And that quote stays with me quite a lot because, you know, if you see one bad picture from a photographer, you see great pictures and then like a kind of sucky one and then a couple of good ones and then another sucky one, people start to think, why there's a couple of really bad ones in here. But to kind of, a very similar quote, a quote from Jay Maisel, a stunning street photographer from New York. He talks like a sailor, he's brilliant. And he's talking about portfolios and, you know, culling it and things like that. And he says, when someone is looking at your portfolio, you're only as good as your worst image in your portfolio. And when you think about your portfolio like that, that kind of changes things because we're very personally attached to our images. We all are, we're all guilty of it. All photographers are guilty of it. You go, oh, I know that's not a great picture, but it was that time, you know, when I drove up the mountain, it was stunning and I had my girlfriend with me and the sun was setting. It's like, but is the picture any good? No, but then no, take it out. We all know if we take a step back and look at our work, which one is the worst. We all know in our heart of hearts, and I've done this before, I've had to take images out. I shot pictures last year, which you will never see, because I don't think they're good enough. Flat out, I don't think they're good enough. But you have to be brutal. You have to be brutally honest with yourself, and also a great benefit is to have a friend, a photographer at least an equal level with you, if not someone that's above you and just better than you, or you think they're better than you, or whatever, however you want to put it. Someone that you know is really good at what they're doing and you trust them, and you have a relationship with them, and you go to that person and say, hey, look, I need help culling my portfolio. I think I've got too many images. I've got some images I want to put in, but I don't want to overflow my portfolio. And again, some people might put in the comments here, how many pictures to put in a portfolio? My personal opinion is between 15 to 20. Any more than 20 and it's too many, you can really cull down to 20 images. I'm sure there's no photographer that can go, well, I'd rather have 25 or 30 than 20. If you can kick ass in 20, you don't need to kick ass in 25. So like 15 to 25, I'd say roughly around the 18 mark, I think is my personal preference. But have someone that you can go to and say, look, I need to take a couple of images out. I need your help. What do you think? And you'll be surprised how many of the friends that you speak to that you trust and are at a good photography level will actually say, look, I've wanted to kind of say, but I've never said it. I don't think this is your greatest image. I think you should take it out. I don't think it's as good as what you can do, and I think it drags everything else down. You'll be surprised how many of your friends actually say that when you have an open and honest conversation with them. So my recommendation is just to start, but be very brutally honest with yourself, especially when you're taking to the next level and you kind of want to take it to the next level, and you know you have work you want to put in, but you don't know what to take out and stuff like that. Find someone that you can trust to help cull your portfolio. So hopefully that's answered a couple of questions here. I think that's like 4 or 5 questions here. And I've ran out of questions now, so hopefully we'll be doing another Q&A sometime in the future. Hope you found this useful, or at least enjoyable. I've been Craig McCormick, and I'll catch you in the next one.